What's good, folks? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle Earth, to another episode of Disguised Coverage, the only podcast that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin, presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. That is One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. I am your host, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro2_ANT. Find me on Blue Sky at proant. No underscores there, just PROANT. In tonight's episode of Disguised Coverage, we're going to be diving into some game tape from the Buffalo Bills victory versus the Jets in week 2 with a specific focus on Joey Bosa, and then tying that into a larger discussion. We're 58 seconds in. First flub of the night. Disappointed in myself. Usually that doesn't happen for at least an hour into the show, but I'm severely disappointed in myself. We're going to be diving into Joey Bosa game tape to highlight and detail how and why he was so dominant against the New York Jets in week 2, and also tying that into a larger discussion of what he means to the Buffalo Bills defensive line, and I guess the entire defense in general by extension. The Bosa signing is one that I feel kind of personally attached to this season. For regular viewers of the show, we were live here doing, for free agency breakdown and reaction while the Joey Bosa news broke. So like that happening during the show, I just feel like kind of connected to it because of that. And then when he got injured during, OTAs or minicamp or whatever it was earlier this offseason, I did another episode, kind of focusing on him, talking about what he meant in theory in terms of projection, in terms of floor, ceiling, all that kind of stuff, and actual practical application amongst the defensive line and amongst the defense. And now we still do not have anywhere close to a proper sample size. We are 2 games in, 2 completely different caliber of opponents in the Ravens in week 1 and the Jets in week 2. But he had such a strong performance in week 2, so I thought it would be fun to kind of catalog it a little bit, talk about it, break it down, and then again, attach it to the larger discussion of how important he is, what he means to this defensive line, what he merely means to the defense as a whole. And yeah, I thought that'd be fun for us to do in this episode. I kind of want to start off with some stats and advanced metrics for where Bosa is right now, league-wide, amongst some qualifying defenders, but then also within, respect to the actual Bills players themselves on this team. And again, I do want to preface what I am saying in this entire episode. Also, good comment here from DJ Finesse saying, everyone smash that like button on time for Bills Mafia. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. I don't know if you meant on time or one time. I don't care. I appreciate it. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. So please, 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 and thank you. Drop a like here on YouTube if you are watching this episode. Please, 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 thank you. And if you're enjoying it, all that kind of stuff. Word of mouth, positive feedback, all that kind of stuff. And I like this comment from Kay Morey saying, this defense isn't yet in its final form, ... Whatever in January, knock on wood. Absolutely. Fingers crossed, no jinx, all of that. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. I knew it was one time. I just felt it. As I read it, I was like, I think he means one time, but it is what it is. So I want to give some advanced metrics to kind of put Bosa's early, performance, especially that week 2 performance, kind of into perspective for you guys. And again, as I mentioned and alluded to, we're 2 games into the season. If the Bills were 0-2 and had been outscored 0-100, or if they were 2-0, they are 2-0, but it had outscored their opponents 100-0, it's still just 2 games in. We don't know who these teams are going to actually be. Someone could turn it around. Someone could fall apart. We don't know how injuries will impact teams. That's not just for the Bills. It's for anybody and everybody. So do take everything with a bit of a grain of salt. But I say all that just to preface some of the stats, because some of these are kind of stark in positive and negative ways. Well, stark doesn't really kind of shade it great, but nonetheless, let's talk about it. So some Buffalo Bills defensive line stats. Amongst 204 qualifying defenders. This is based on total rush snaps. I thought this would be nice to kind of lead off this episode to kind of put into perspective what Joey Bosa has meant so far to the Buffalo Bills defensive line. So overall, league-wide, amongst those 204 qualifying defenders, Joey Bosa right now is second in pass rush productivity. That is, a PFF formula that combines sacks plus hits plus hurries and divides it by play count. So he's second in pass rush productivity. He's third in pressure rate at 27.3%, and he's 10th in win rate at 24.2%. Now, a lot of that has been carried by what he did in week 2 against the Jets. And some of that also, from a Ravens perspective, we know they ran the ball a ton in that game, different kind of game script, different kind of offense and mentality. But, the numbers very different from week 1 against the Ravens versus week 2 against the Jets. So his pass rush productivity in week 1 against the Ravens was 5.6. Week 2 against the Jets was 26.7. His pressure rate in week 1 against the Ravens was 11.1%. His pressure rate in week 2 against the Jets, 46.7%. An almost 50% pressure rate is just absolutely insane. And then his win rate, 11.1% in week 1 against the Ravens, 40% in week 2 against the Jets. So just 3 crazy advanced metrics that are based on efficiency and kind of tie into success. Just 3 wild numbers against the Jets in week 2 for pass rush productivity, pressure rate, and win rate. Now, again, we're only 2 weeks in, but I wanted to juxtapose his performance so far from a metric standpoint before we dive into the tape with several of the other players on the defensive line for the Buffalo Bills. So I kind of ranked everybody by pass rush productivity, and that's where I went. So Bosa is second in pass rush productivity. Also, I kind of want to mention this nugget as well. The Bills haven't had many chances to rush the quarterback just off of the game script of the Ravens game and then how the Jets game went. They are last right now in the league in terms of passes faced with only 47 passes faced. So everything now from an efficiency standpoint, it's good that we're seeing success for Bosa and some of these other guys that we're going to talk about here. But all of that is within the landscape of they have not seen a lot of pass attempts. They have not seen a lot of that aspect of the game at all as a defense right now, just based on how much Baltimore ran the ball in week 1, based off how the game script flowed in week 2 against the Jets. So they have not seen a ton of pass attempts. So as we go forward, some of these metrics from an efficiency standpoint will start to creep down. Some of their volume metrics will also go up, like total pressures and where they rank. So we talked about Bosa, crazy good numbers, second in pass rush productivity, third in pressure rate, 10th in win rate amongst 204 qualifying defenders. TJ Sanders, next up, tied for 33rd in pass rush productivity, tied for 19th in pressure rate at 18.2%, but 172nd in win rate at 4.5%. I think that is reflective of Sanders getting, kind of some schemed up wins or some, coverage type of pressures where quarterbacks holding on to it a bit long. We saw that against the Jets where he had an almost sack because the coverage holding pretty well for the Bills. And eventually some guys got home and got through, but encouraging to see a little bit for TJ Sanders. I don't think the metrics are necessarily reflective of what he's been on tape, but we're 2 games in. Greg Rousseau, third on the Bills in pass rush productivity amongst the qualifying Bills players and tied for 50th in pass rush productivity amongst those 204 qualifying defenders, 107th in pressure rate at 9.7%, tied for 109th in win rate, also at 9.7%. This is kind of a sticking point that I again, 2 games in, I'm going to continue to say this, right? Because I also know people tune in at different points, whether watching live or they skip around a little bit, watching post live, audio, video, whatever. I'm going to keep saying this. We're only 2 games in, so the sample size isn't really there. But something we talked about this offseason on this show, and part of why I talked about Joey Bosa being so important to this Bills defensive line and to this Bills defense was my belief that although I love Greg Rousseau, and I was happy to see him get paid, I don't think he's an edge one as a pass rusher. We've said it on the show. What's the line? He's more of a Robin than he is a Batman when it comes to being a pass rusher. He is legitimately one of the best run defending edges and defensive linemen in all of football. And it's not just because he's big or strong or long. It's that plus the way he sees the game and how he understands it. So he's one of the best run defending edges and defensive linemen in all of football. But he's not quite there as a pass rusher. And that was part of what I talked about when it came to the importance of Joey Bosa, because I thought the most likely path to the Bills having a true edge one as a pass rusher was Joey Bosa staying healthy and being that guy. The other opportunities were, Sure, Greg Rousseau takes a jump and becomes an edge one, or you just have a whole bunch of edge twos in the aggregate. You have Rousseau, who's an edge two as a rusher. You've got, Michael Hoyt, who is a chess piece and kind of like an edge three, edge two. Maybe Javon Solomon takes a jump. Maybe Landon Jackson was going to stand out as a rookie. Maybe AJ Epinesa got back to form as a pass rusher. Kind of, the money ball line that everybody uses for everything now, and kind of build an edge one in the aggregate. But what we've seen thus far, a bit underwhelming from Rousseau as a pass rusher. Again, I think a lot of it is because he's grown a lot as a player. I do want to say that, him being like an edge two as a rusher is a testament to what he's been overall. Like, he came into this league raw with not a lot of snaps under his belt, and he quickly turned into one of the best run defending edges in football. And he's gotten better each year as a rusher, but you just don't necessarily see the skill set translate regularly as a rusher in terms of more pass rush plan and attack, I think, than anything else. He does have several nice tools. Obviously, he's not going to have the dip and the bend and the athleticism, the change of direction that other guys have, but the length plays well, the hand placement, the pop, the shock in the hands that he has plays well. And he has been able to develop like an inside move, stab and being able to get inside, in addition to just being able to go through outside shoulders, or when that half-man relationship on the outside or going through someone's chest. But you just haven't really seen it in totality for him as a true edge one. And I think the numbers so far these first 2 weeks are kind of reflective of that. Again, it is 2 weeks. Bosa could fall off the face of the earth. Groot could rise up to become one of the best from a metric standpoint. It's 2 weeks in. But I do think that's interesting when you're looking at edge one and edge two for the Bills. The top two edges on the depth chart are Groot and Bosa, however you want to put them. Amongst those 204 qualifying defenders, Bosa second in pass rush productivity. Groot is tied for 50th. Bosa's third in pressure rate. Groot is 107th. Bosa's 10th in win rate. Groot is tied for 109th. I don't think Bosa is going to stay up there for the whole year. He's obviously going to regress to the mean a little bit, just like I think Rousseau will regress to probably end up being in like the low 30s, maybe high to mid 20s, maybe low 20s. Hopefully you can get that, but it's kind of where they are as of now. Daquan Jones, 65th in pass rush productivity, tied for 135th in pressure rate at 7.4%, tied for 139th in win rate, also at 7.4%. Javon Solomon, tied for 91st in pass rush productivity, tied for 73rd in pressure rate at 12.5%, 123rd in win rate at 8.3%. There are 3 Bills defensive linemen that did not qualify amongst the 204 just based off of total rush snaps. Those are Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa, and Deion Walker. But I have their numbers anyway. Ed Oliver, obviously, because he missed week 2 against the Jets. Good comment. His perfect comment segue from AJ. AJ saying, RJ about AJ Epinesa. RJ says, isn't AJ 11th in pass rush win rate? I thought I saw that today. So also depends on where you look and kind of what you take a peek at. But AJ Epinesa I think this is interesting with AJ Epinesa because he essentially didn't qualify because he hasn't had enough pass rush snaps. And I think that's interesting to continue to talk about kind of the usage for AJ Epinesa. We talked about it on the show multitude of times. We've talked about it in the film room. Kind of his moving away from being more of a pass rush guy and a third down guy to being more of a early down player, a first and second down type of guy. And that's reflected not just in his usage and like in the game, but also in the metrics because he didn't qualify here. He played in game 1. He played in game 2. He sees a good chunk of snaps, but a lot of them have been run focused. Again, the Ravens ran the ball a ton in week 1 and then game script in week 2 and the wonkiness, so on and so forth. But I do think, him not qualifying is reflective of his usage rate. But we're going to go with these 3 non-qualifying Bills defensive linemen. Ed Oliver would be second on the Bills in pass rush productivity and having a score of 13.9. So pretty close to Bosa's 15.2. Again, for reference, Bosa's PRP puts him second amongst those 204 qualifying defenders. Ed Oliver's pressure rate, 22.2%. For reference again, Bosa was third with 27.3. Ed Oliver's win rate, not quite there with Bosa's. His win rate is 11.1%. Bosa's again 10th in amongst those 204 qualifying at 24.2%. AJ Epinesa, third best pass rush productivity on the Buffalo Bills with a score of 11.8, only behind Ed Oliver and Joey Bosa in pass rush productivity. Also, second best pressure rate on the Bills at 23.5%, 1.3% higher than Ed Oliver. And then a win rate of 5.9%. Again, showing a little bit the effectiveness within the scheme and what he can do, but not necessarily from an individual standpoint, kind of tearing it up, showing that aspect. Again, win rate from a PFF standpoint is the pass rushing win percentage. So it's pressures plus beaten defenders minus unblocked pressures divided by total pass rush snaps. So it takes into account you beating a defender, again, hence the kind of quote unquote win. Rounding out everyone here, and not from a very impressive standpoint, Deion Walker, a pass rush productivity of 3.1, which is extremely low. Very low pressure rate as well at 6.3%. A win rate of 12.5%, which is nice to see. But I think, again, that speaks to kind of him finding his footing. You're not necessarily seeing him be the world beater that he was in the preseason against second, third, maybe even fourth team guys, but starting to find his foot a little bit. I know it's not the easiest thing to hear numbers coming at you without seeing them on a graphic, but hope I outlined that pretty well for anyone. If anyone has a question, thought, comment, concern, wants me to go back to anything on any of that, please let me know. But I gave all those to kind of be the lead in for the tape, but also to put into the larger discussion of what I said in the offseason when Bosa got banged up and we focused on him for an entire episode here. I still think, as of right now, the Bills' best path to having a true edge one from a pass rush standpoint is Joey Bosa staying healthy. I'm not ruling out Greg Rousseau taking a jump or, again, being able to do it in the aggregate, but I think both of those aspects have a lower probability than if Bosa's healthy, he's the guy. The health is just the biggest question mark. I'm not saying anything revelatory, not saying anything that folks don't know. It's a huge question mark as to whether or not he can stay healthy. But what he did on Sunday, and also for as much as like everybody's kind of making jokes about the Jets or about Fields or about their team, Membao at right tackle played well in week 1 against TJ Watt. And then Olufashanu on the other side, their left tackle, he's still a good prospect. He handled himself well against Highsmith and the dudes that Pittsburgh was rolling out. Highsmith got him on a really nice inside move late in that game, I should say, in week 1. But they have some good tackles. So it's not like Bosa was just out there. Yes, Membao was a rookie and Fashanu doesn't have a ton of snaps under his belt, but it's not just like Bosa was cooking scrubs or, garbage type of dudes. Also, at that same, play devil's advocate, you could also speak to some of the other guys in the Bills not necessarily having that same level of productivity, even though they're going up against the same type of competition. I think that's a conversation for another time. But I say all that to say, I should say, Bosa staying healthy is hugely important because he is their best chance of being the edge one that this team needs. And I think really any contender needs. You don't necessarily have to have a stud rusher or a stud guy at a premium position, but if not, you got to have multiple. Like if you don't have a true like A or A plus guy at a premium position, you just need to have multiple B pluses or an A minus and a B plus, or everyone is a B. And I don't think the Bills have that in their edge grouping. So I do think they need an edge one, especially with how this team is built and how this team relies on the front four. And Joey Bosa showed, because he's healthy right now, when healthy, I don't think he's that guy that was in his prime with the Chargers, but when healthy, he is still a very, 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 very effective player against the run and against the pass. Yes, some of the read option stuff and the RPO stuff, not the RPO stuff, the zone read stuff against Baltimore kind of put him in a blender a bit, but some of that was more assignment and call than it was kind of him individually. But he's still very effective as a pass rusher. He's great at understanding angles and for offensive tackles and their pass sets, understanding where quarterbacks are going to drop to and how to act accordingly. He has a good feel for how to win outside, inside, going through someone. You've got very good hand usage, good power. He's just very good at the science of pass rushing, and he still has a good physical presence, in addition to being able to kind of throw offensive tackles off their game, which we're going to show in the tape, which he did on several occasions against the Jets. It all just comes down to health, which we all know. But I don't think him playing that well against the Jets was anything crazy because, again, what we saw the past couple of years, when healthy, he's still been very good. The issue is just that when he's been playing, he's still been banged up with these soft muscle type of injuries like groin injuries, hip injuries, things that like limit his movement, limit his effectiveness. So you're playing, but you're like 70% or 60% or something like that, however you want to quantify it. I do think what's interesting with the whole injury history with Bosa is, for the most part, especially if you're kind of juxtaposing him with Von Miller, all of Bosa's injuries, even though they've been more frequent, have all not really been too like career debilitating. It's not like, well, he tore his ACL multiple times, or he popped an Achilles, or he broke this. It's always been like a strained this, a pulled this. It's been more of kind of like the injury, the nagging soft muscle type of injuries. Whereas that's funny. RJ says, is Joey Bosa the Matt Milano defensive end? No, because Milano's had like arm breaks and leg breaks and bicep tears. Bosa's stuff is always like, yeah, more of these like, not, I don't want to say minor, but more just nagging injuries that linger and don't go away from a soft muscle standpoint. Milano's had a couple of freak injuries and also like bone breaks and just crazy stuff, like things that you're just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time and something snaps. Bosa's more just like hamstrings and quads and groins and stuff. Just those little nagging things that you can't get on the field because you can't move in certain ways to be effective, but it's not going to destroy your career. But it's also hard to rehab it because you don't really get the opportunity to rest your groin or rest your quad or your hammy unless you don't move. And it's impossible to kind of do that. But I also think it's funny that how that kind of plays into what Bosa is now, which is, for being a vet and having some miles on the tires and being up there in age a little bit relative to NFL players, he's almost still kind of fresh in a way because he doesn't have a lot of like strict wear and tear from a usage standpoint. And the injuries that he has had haven't, caused a change in play style. It's not like, oh, well, he was a speed rusher, but he tore his Achilles and it's just changed the way he's played. No, he hasn't had anything like Von Miller that's kind of derailed him. Von was great at the science of being a pass rusher and the cerebral aspect and the technique aspect, but the miles on the tires plus multiple ACL tears for a guy who a good chunk of his game is predicated on dip and bend and athleticism, that's much different than what Bosa is now. I see the comments coming in here that say yoga a whole bunch. That's funny. Yeah, so if he can stay healthy, I think this is the type of effectiveness he can have. I'm not saying he's going to dominate week in and week out like he did against the Jets, but I don't think it's crazy to think that if Bosa can stay relatively healthy, he can finish somewhere in the top 20 from a pass rush standpoint and be close to like a true edge one where we're looking at him from a production and an advanced metric standpoint of him being 15 to 12, maybe even top 10 in this league. And also keep in mind with everything, when he's been healthy, he's a good run defender as well. He plays the run well as a power rusher and as a guy who plays with intensity. He plays the run well from a run fit standpoint and responsibility standpoint. I didn't think the Bills would play him as much against the run as they have to start the year. I thought it would be more Epinesa and Groot on early downs and Bosa on pass rushing downs. But they've let Bosa play as if he doesn't have an injury history, which could be positive or negative depending on what side of the coin you want to look at. I'm also interested to see what the roles look like once Hoyt comes back as well. But long story short, I still think Joey Bosa is extremely, extremely important to this Bills, not only to their defensive line, but the defense as a whole, because he is their best chance at having a true edge one as a pass rusher. Yes, if he goes down, you could do some fun stuff with Hoyt. Groot is still, I think, a solid edge two. You might get some flashes from Epinesa here and there. Solomon's had some flashes, but you really have to hope multiple guys take a jump if Bosa goes down. And I think what we've seen kind of to start the year is somewhat reflective of that, although the sample size is small. And I want to keep reiterating that so no one jumps in and be like, it's only 2 games in. This is ridiculous, yada, yada, positively or negatively. We're 2 weeks in. Let's kind of see. But really encouraging return on investment so far with Joey Bosa. And yeah, as we talk about, it's going to come down to health every single time, every single week. Now, let's get into some tape. Actually, you know what? Let me go into, I'll grab some comments really fast before we dive into the tape. I'm going all the way back here from the beginning. See all the kind words and people coming through. Joey says he's looking like Vaughn did the first 8 games we had him. The energy is fantastic. Man, Vaughn very much was the prince that was promised before he tore that ACL in Detroit. So if he could replicate that for an entire season and in the playoffs, I would take that. Ron says Josh Allen's going to come out of the tunnel in a blue Darth Vader helmet. I want him to wear a colored visor so bad. So bad, so bad, so bad. What else? DJ Finesse says, I think we should sign him for at least 2 more years. Oh, James says Groot found his Batman. If Bosa could be the Batman to Groot's Robin, I would take that. I would take that. I like this comment here from Cecil saying, and Bosa's happy to be on the Bills. He has crazy good childlike energy. If he stays healthy, he will be elite in all caps this season. I think that's an interesting point and not just like a fan point. Like him even saying, the amount of like stuff they've done together is more than he did with his time in the Chargers. And I think like the sideline interactions, the behind the scenes stuff, even some of the on the field stuff, he does look like he's genuinely enjoying himself. And I think part of it is knowing like you're on a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And also because, no jinx, fingers crossed, he is healthy at this point. He doesn't feel broken down or hurt. He's not playing through pain. So that's a positive in and of itself. And then also you're playing on this team with a good culture that believes it can win the Super Bowl and is having a good start to the year. So yeah, all signs are kind of pointing up for him to have that positive energy. But yeah, I think you kind of felt that in camp as well. Ron says Walker needs to work hard on his pad level. He needs to stay down and stop popping up when the ball is snapped. I think that's a fair point, and it's also part of one of my bigger concerns when it comes to Deion Walker. I don't know if he's going to really be able to fix his pad level just because of how he's built. The height, the frame, the lack of bend. Like it's just going to be hard for a dude like that to constantly play with leverage and win, which is part of what scared me away from him, in addition to the back injury and kind of how he was shaped and proportioned. But he worked on the proportion piece. We'll see if he can correct some other things. But yeah, pad level is consistently going to be an issue. And you see that a lot on double team blocks. If he doesn't recognize the double team coming, he gets displaced very easily. We saw it on multiple runs against the Jets where he got up and bang, he just got knocked right out of his gap. An alley or a hole was created just because he kind of gets displaced horizontally. It can happen vertically as well, but because he's so tall, if he gets hit kind of in that torso or that lower back, the back or the hips there, he can just kind of get displaced really easily, and then the alley opens up. What else? Claude said, I don't need to see Bosa anymore this year. Let's save him for January. I think that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, good comment here from Connor saying Bosa has quote-unquote small injuries, but not catastrophic ones like ACL tears. Everything that we're saying here and being said in the chat, I need everybody to say no jinx and cross their fingers right now at this time. Please, 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 and thank you. And I like this back-to-back. Better do some yoga. And then yoga in all caps. Magic Catfish saying Joey is more power. Age is easier. Yeah, potentially, especially if you combine it with the technique aspect. Ryan says we should give Bosa a 4-week bye when Hoyt comes back. I actually don't hate that. Oh, this is a fun one from Cecil saying, I don't care about tackles and not too much about sacks. Just one forced fumble a game. Well, he had 2 in this one. So nice from William. Would like Landon Jackson to be active just so Bosa doesn't have to play in the 4th during a blowout. I think we could also get there naturally just with Hoyt coming back, but I feel you on that. Okay, Maury says, what do you think about Solomon's usage kicking inside? I like Javon Solomon. I haven't seen the effectiveness completely that I wanted to, even in the preseason. He looked good in camp and he looked good in the scrimmage. Preseason was he played well, but not necessarily the kind of what I hoped to. Which is just my fault for expectations. I do like him kicking inside. I think, him being able to utilize his quickness and move set against guards, but also work against guys inside who in theory have smaller arm length and smaller builds and frames should also help him. I think his biggest issue with rushing outside against tackles is their size and frame and length kind of working against him as a smaller guy. Even though he's got good hand size and arm length, especially for his size, he's still a smaller type of defensive end. So I think anything you can do to kind of help him tip the scales in his favor when it comes to length and frame, which go against guards and centers where those guys are usually smaller in frame and length than offensive tackles. I do like that. This is awesome. This is an awesome comment. Cowson says, got to rip by Ant's house on my chopper real quick. Be right back. For those who don't know, between just guys coverage in the film in the past 3 weeks, I've had the windows open. The weather's been nice. Um, I just get a ton of motorcycles outside. I don't know why, and it happens all the time during shows. I could do a show at 5 in the afternoon or 9 o'clock at night and just get crazy motorcycles riding by. This is one of the best comments I've gotten. I love just the inside joke and connection. We're done. Well done. Well done. Yeah, Ralph says Josh had a clear visor at practice today. I want the tint. The tint looks so much better. I don't know if he's legally allowed to do it, but I like it. Joey says, what are your thoughts on Babbage so far as our defensive coordinator? I like the adjustments he made in game 2. I like the creativity in some of the coverage pieces. I'll be posting a bunch more of those on Twitter tomorrow and on Blue Sky. Eric and I will be diving into the film room tomorrow to go over some of them. I like what he's done from some of the pressure package pieces and some of the coverage creativity that we saw in this game against the Jets. Some of the bracketing and the doubles that they gave Garrett Wilson, the 5-0 looks up front to create one-on-one opportunities, some of the creative coverage spins on the back end. I'm encouraged. I'm still very much wait and see, especially with how much they got dog walked against the Ravens, but I am hopeful. For me, a lot of it really is just they could be the best defense in the league. I'm not going to feel confident until I see them be more matchup proof in the playoffs. I know that's probably an unfair answer, but that's really where I'm at. But I will be more encouraged, obviously, for the playoffs, the better they play in the regular season. But I'm encouraged so far. Got to see it happen in the playoffs. Whoa. I only read part of this, so I don't really know what's happening here. No thanks. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for the super chat. The comment says 15 seconds to think. Gun to your head. 3 current players, non-QBs to add to the current Bills roster. You have to win the Super Bowl this year. Who are you picking? Non-QBs to add to the Bills roster. I am picking Myles Garrett. I am picking Jeffrey Simmons. And I am picking Kyle Hamilton. It's definitely going to be a safety. I really love Jesse Bates, but probably Kyle Hamilton. Yeah, probably Kyle Hamilton. Yeah, I'm going all defense. I'm going Myles Garrett, Jeffrey Simmons, and Kyle Hamilton. Outside shot at there's so many safeties I like. Yeah, I'm going Kyle Hamilton. That was a fun question. That stressed the hell out of me, but that was a fun question. What else? Oh, good answer here from Connor. Connor says Dexter Lawrence, Fred Warner, and Max Crosby. Yeah, you could go with Crosby too. That was literally my head went to whether they were the trade candidates or not. My head immediately went to Crosby, Garrett. Defensive tackle's tough. It really comes down to style. Like I thought about Chris Jones for a minute. Dexter Lawrence is crazy good. I just love Jeffrey Simmons' game and what he brings from a run standpoint, a pass rush standpoint, like the versatility on the inside. Like he can play some 3, he can play some 1. Like you would put him anywhere and he's going to win up front. I like that. This is also a good answer from Cecil saying 3 players, Lamar, Henry, and Mahomes, just so they're not on their teams. That's always good. You take them and you just stash them on the bench. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, Tank Ninja says, I don't think they're allowed to wear tinted visors in games. I don't think so either, but I also don't care, and I want it to happen anyway. Oh, Ron says Derwin James. That's a fair answer. Derwin's fun. William says no offensive players, and Jared says no wide receiver. I thought about it, but I just think the offense is fine as it is. And I say that to say, like, I think their receiving core is built for the type of offense they want, which is power football, run the ball, condensed formations, heavy personnel, bigger body types, put defenses in run pass conflict. If this was the Bills team from 2020 and 2021, even into 2022, I'd probably think about more of a wide receiver. Like I'd go for, Chase or Justin Jefferson just for the hell of it. But I think the receivers fit for what they want to do. You got guys who can block. You guys got guys who can function in the underneath and the intermediate. And you're going to run the ball. You're going to rely on your tight ends and your 6 offensive lineman sets and James Cook and Josh Allen, who's a great equalizer on that side of the ball. So, yeah, I picked defensive players because despite the fact that the defense looked good against the Jets, I still do have concerns about this defense. And I'm worried in some places. I also think, too, part of me, like, as much as I took a safety, part of me also thinks maybe, like, I don't know, do we take, like, Derek Stingley? And then you've got Benford and Stingley on the outside, and, like, who's doing anything outside? But, yeah, I'd probably go all 3 defense. RJ says, I would add JJ or Chase. Imagine Allen with a top tier wide receiver. I mean, I don't need to imagine. He had a top tier wide receiver in Stephon Diggs. It was awesome. But I think the type of offense they have now doesn't necessarily need that as much as the defense needs really good players at premium positions. But fair. Appreciate you, K. Moore. He likes those polls. I like that. Jason says, do you think Gabe Davis will play when healthy? I don't know, because I don't know what kind of shape he's in. I think there's a pretty good non-zero chance of him playing. They like him. He does the dirty work, and he fits this type of offense better than he did probably the other type of offense that he was in before. But yeah, I think he will play at some point. Jason says, you make me worried that you still look at it as I am worried instead of I saw the improvement I wanted to see. I feel like you were keeping secrets from us you saw in the film. No, it's just early. My concerns, and I've said it on the show, my concerns about the defense come down to being more matchup based in the playoffs than anything else. I think they have been on the whole, a very good regular season defense. That just has not mattered come playoff time. Yes, there are the caveats of all the injuries that they've had in the playoffs recently, but and some of that is coaching. Some of the matchup pieces are coaching and play calling, but I also think some of it is just the bodies. I don't think they've necessarily had the horses to compete defensively. So much of the game is, the old adage, like it's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. I think they've at times been deficient in the X's and O's, but I also don't think they've had the Jimmy's and Joe's that some of the other teams have had. And so if I'm playing that game of like 3 non-QBs or whatever to bring, I'm picking some Jimmy's and Joe's who I know are some of the best dudes at their position that are also premium positions. And then in the case of safety, I think the Bills, you could use a different type of starting safety for this team, but that's where I go. But yeah. Oh, Brad, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for the super chat. We're about to get into the film, so I'm glad I saw this before I jumped into that. Brad says, Bills are now over and under 13.5 wins. Assuming they go 13-4, which 4 games are you okay dropping? One has to be the AFC East, the AFC North, 1 KC or Houston, 1 NFC. I would prefer dropping as many NFC games as possible out of those 4. If I can pick NFC games, I'll take that all day. So whoever they got to drop. Actually, I'll go to the Bills schedule real quick, because off the top of my head, I never remember like most opponents. I would be okay. So if I have to drop 4 games, and kind of how are you quantifying it here? 1 has to be AFC East, 1 has to be AFC North, 1 is KC or Houston, 1 NFC. I'll drop 1 to Philly because whatever. I would like to beat them from a posturing standpoint and being able to say that you beat the defending champs. So I guess if I really had to, 1 NFC, I'll pick losing to Tampa because I like the Buccaneers. I like a lot of their players. So I'll pick the NFC loss being to Tampa Bay. I will pick the loss to Houston because I think it'll matter less. AFC North. Oh, I hate all the AFC North teams that we've already beaten Baltimore. I'll say losing to the Browns because I won't think it matters as much. But from a moral standpoint, I don't want to lose to the Browns. I'll say I think the Bengals will probably falter without Burrow. I'll say Cincinnati for now. And 1 being the AFC East, I will take a loss to the Jets in Week 18 because in theory, I think it probably won't matter. Hopefully, that's what I'm going to take. Cecil, we're on the same page. Well said. Oh, Jason, thank you very much. I don't know if you meant to put a comment with this, Jason, but I appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for the super chat. If you meant to put a comment, put it in. I'll get to it. I hope I don't lose it when I'm watching film, but thank you very much for the super chat regardless. All right. Let us dive into... Nope, I'm clicking the wrong things. You guys could see behind the scenes and just see me clicking not anything that I need to be clicking right now. It would be kind of embarrassing. All right, so now I want to say a couple things about the film. So I did a full film episode last week. It got hit with some copyright things because the NFL is the no fun league at times. So I've done things a bit differently for this episode, but it still should present very well. But in case you see some differences to what we normally do here, I kind of wanted to call that out. It was also part of why I hesitated in doing any film at all, but I ran it through some copyright checks and we should be good. So I'm going to take a sip of water and we're going to get after it. All right. Let's go full screen here. Let's go full screen, y'all. Okay. All right. So, like we talked about, we're going to dive into the Joey Bosa tape from this Jets game, and I got 6 plays highlighted. Again, his performance in that game was pretty nuts. I went over the percentages, but if you want some of the raw stats as well, 7 pressures, 1 sack, 5 hurries, 1 QB hit, 2 forced fumbles, 1 on the strip sack, and 1 on that scramble, a 40% win rate, a 46.7% pressure rate, and a 26.7% pass rush productivity, which, again, just absolutely bonkers and bananas. I saw this. Jason says, put an overlay on top of the film that is a transparent picture of giving Goodell a middle finger. We should be good. I like that. That's very funny. That's good. All right, here. Let me get into the tape. So yeah, I'm not showing, it's not every single play or everything he crushed on, but I wanted to show some of the ways that he won, pick some plays that were indicative of how he won, why he won. Not necessarily going in order. I essentially grabbed some of these from some clips I made on Twitter, and this didn't get dinged by the copyright stuff. So here we are. So this first play we're going to look at is a pressure from Joey Bosa. Second quarter, 22 seconds left, and you can see him highlighted by the blue circle here. All of these plays that we're going to look at tonight have Joey Bosa circled with a blue highlighter circle, so you can see him nice and easy instead of the normal yellow one that we do in huddle. This one, just a little warm up here. He just completely dusts Membao with an inside move. He ghosts his hands completely. This ties into another play that we're going to look at later, but here's Bosa. What I also wanted to kind of highlight too, notice the alignment from the Bills defenders. So what the Bills did at several points in this game is they showed 5 on the line. Usually when you do that, it creates 5-0 protection for the offensive line, or essentially man-on-man blocking, especially when you cover up the center like this. So man, 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 man. So when you do this kind of stuff, it creates you're kind of dictating one-on-ones and creating matchups that you want. That plus this outside alignment for Bosa really puts him on an island against Membao. You're going to watch him on the snap here. I'm going to do him in slow-mo, and then I'll play him in real time. Takes off, little hezzy, bang, puts his foot in the ground, catches Membao lean in hard, stabs inside, hand usage to clear, breaks right down. Real pretty, completely beats the hands. If you've never heard the old adage, beat the hands, beat the man, you're hearing it now. Beat the hands, bang, beat the man. What I like about this one a lot is this play came right after this play here. I'm going to jump around a little bit. So the first play that we just looked at, and I'm going to go back to it in a second, was at the 22-second mark in the second quarter. This play right now is at the 26-second mark in the second quarter. Again, notice what we've got. 5 on the line, and then 1 is head up on the center. So we're going to get that 5-0 protection from the offensive line. So we're going to get man on man. We have another wide alignment from Mr. Joey Bosa. But watch how his approach on this one gets Membao, again, right tackle, rookie, Membao, number 70. Watch how Bosa's approach gets Membao to expose his chest. I talked about it earlier. He's good at understanding and reading angles of tackles and their pass sets, but also QB drops. And he's also good at stemming his rush or taking the proper, rush angle or the rush path to throw tackles out of rhythm. This one's really nice because he's going to feign like he's trying to rush upfield or try and run the arc, and then he's just going to barrel through Membao. So I'm going to show this one, and then we're going to go back to the one we just watched. So watch Bosa come off the edge here. Now watch, it looks like he's coming out of a stance. He's taking a direct path at Membao, right? So here he comes, going to bank. Now we're going to stab with our inside foot. So now you're thinking, okay, he's stabbing inside. He's going to go out. But watch how he's feigning right now. It's like, okay, I'm going upfield. Psych. It's a quick stab. And watch him come back inside. Look at where he catches Membao's hands. You can't see it on the other side, but his hands are outstretched. Membao's chest is now exposed. And watch what Bosa does. Bosa sees this, knows he caught him, and he plays right into his chest. You get those 3 points of contact. You get a hand on a chest here, hand on a chest here, forehead on forehead. You're getting those 3 points of contact. Membao's hands, look at him. They're outside of Bosa's frame. He doesn't have control. He does not have leverage. Bosa is right into his chest. Feels that, is able to turn him, and then watch him disengage. Also, again, notice that hand, inside frame, right on kind of that chest plate around that neckline, the top of the numbers area. Disconnects with that right hand. So now he's ripping through. This is where the technique comes in addition to the power. Rips through. And then also watch the angle. So because of how we turned him, he pried him open. He was able to win that half-man relationship, open up that right side, pry him open. That plus the power, like Memba wants to like lean on him and kind of drive him wide. You can still, if you're a tackle, you can still potentially kind of like cut him off or ride him around. But because of Bosa's strength and his angle and how we pried him open, he's able to take this angle right down onto Justin Fields. Watching real time. Again, watch that little feint outside, bang, and how it just opens up the chest. You do not want that. Yeah, obviously, if you are a tackle, you do not want to give up your chest. You want to get hands. You want to get placement. You want to time your punch with your feet. It just does not happen there from Membao. I'm going to go in slow-mo one more time. Stab inside, and here we go. Okay, so there's that first move inside. It's almost like a rocker step from wide receiver. We step there. Okay, now he's going outside. Psych, back inside. And then again, just look at that. Right, that chest is exposed. You are getting into his chest. Nice rush from Bosa. And then what do? We pry open that outside with power, extend a little bit, then rip our way through. It's a nice transition from Bosa. All things connected here. Also, what I like on this play, I like the rush design here. Ryan Nielsen, probably some influence here. The 5-man rush packages that he loved with New Orleans, with Atlanta, even with the Jags. I know their defense wasn't great. I like what you get here. Watch Daquan Jones and Dorian Williams. They're each going to slant. It's almost going to kind of function like a pirate stunt where they each slice in or spike inside, I should say. And then watch Terrell Bernard loop around. Again, we know because we've covered up the center here and we're showing 5 on the line. We know we've created a man-on-man protection. We've got this 5-0 blocking. We talked about what that means for Bosa, right? So Bosa, we know, is going to get a one-on-one. Everybody essentially is going to get a one-on-one. But when you do this, you can play some games and kind of cross some dudes up here. So now watch Bernard. So Bernard is for John Simpson here. That's who John Simpson is going to block because, again, we're covering up the center. We got 5-0. Watch Simpson. He steps. His eyes are right on Bernard, right? That's who he's going for. So he steps. He has that drag hand a little bit. He keeps his right hand, open a little. So in case anything crazy happens on the snap, he can feel it. But watch. His eyes are locked onto Bernard because that's his man. Here comes Daquan Jones. Bang. Ear holes him. Essentially creates a pick. Here comes Dorian Williams doing the exact same thing to now pick the center. And because the right guard is responsible for Dorian Williams in this 5-0 protection, essentially what we get is 3 blockers on 2 Bills defenders. And here comes Terrell Bernard, scot-free off of this loop to help bear down on Mr. Justin Fields. So obviously a really good individual play from Joey Bosa, but I really like this design with the 2 spikers and the loop around. Again, essentially functions like a pirate stunt, depending on how you define it, but really nice. Man on man, you can use that, right? It's just like, getting coverage tells and creating picks and rubs with your wide receivers or pass catchers in any way, shape, or form. That's what the Bills do here. They essentially create a pick and create a rub so that Bernard comes free. Really nice design. I like that. And again, let's go back. We'll just focus on the Joey Bosa piece. So we showed how Bosa won on this, right? What did he do? One more time in somewhat real time until we get to that, right? Stab, feign upfield, pry into him, right? He's trying to go through him. He feigns upfield. Membao's chest is exposed, and then because of how his footwork is, it just ends up working out where Bosa just pries him open and then runs through that outside, right? So this play just happened, right? The first play we looked at is the very next play. So now, if you're Membao, you're number 70, you're sitting there thinking like, okay, I just got feigned with that upfield rush. He got into my chest. He pried me open through on the outside. Should I protect my outside a little bit? Okay, let me kind of keep my feet under me. Let me watch that outside move. What is Bosa do this time? Hits him with a little hezzy. Membao's maybe a little conscious about that outside move. So what does Bosa do? Stabs inside, completely ghosts him, dusts him, crossed him up, broke his ankles. stacking your rush plans together, understanding this is a really nice back-to-back, and influence a little bit here. Maybe, if you're Membauer, are you worried about that in the back of your head? And Bosa, as a veteran rusher who understands this, knows this is how I just beat that guy. Should I sell that a little bit? Is it in his mind? Let me hit him with a little hezzy, stab outside. Maybe he's a little overconscious of it. Hezzy, bang. And then watch the hands, just quick little swipe. Keep those hands off him. Easy, transitions, moves inside, barrels down, helps force an incompletion. And again, we get another 5-0 blocking. We get man on man. We've covered up the center. Little different response this time, where essentially we've kind of got like some double spy action here, although one of these guys is going to be responsible for the back when he leaks out. The way the back just comes out, it kind of makes it look like two spies, but we've essentially got a 3-man rush and a spy, and then man coverage on the running back, which is nice. Okay, let's go to the next one, the Joey Bosa strip sack. Before we do that, let me go. I see some, I'm going to grab some of the comments here. Okay, Maury saying lots of good happening from other players too. Ralph says the film is rated X in New Jersey, but rated X's and O's here in NY. That's very good. Lauren saying my pea-sized brain is still in disbelief that Bernard is 8. I'm right there with you. It's still taking a lot for me to recognize that. It's annoying me a lot. Also, what annoys me too is that Dorian Williams is 42 and Dorian Strong is 43. I keep confusing the Dorians. Like their number, obviously they have the same first name and then very close numbers as well. It's super annoying. Bob saying, I know it's a Bosa episode. Have you noticed any improvement with Rousseau? Some of it is responsibility and scheme-based, but I've been a bit underwhelmed with Rousseau thus far in 2 games. Overall, but especially as a rusher. A bit underwhelmed at this point. But it's 2 games in. We'll see as we kind of go forward a little bit. Are you trying to make a... What's the... Joe says the picture of Dorian, who... Isn't that a... What am I thinking of? This is going to drive me insane. I can't focus until we get it. Dorian Gray, right? That's what it is. Somebody quickly in the chat tell me. Chat, help me out. I feel like a streamer. It's Dorian Gray, right? The guy whose picture is like a older version of himself, and he looks at the picture, he'll turn old. That's who it is. It's Dorian Gray, right? Thank you, James. Oh, that was going to drive me. That would have drove me nuts. I wouldn't have been able to focus at all. I hate you, Joe. Just kidding. I appreciate you. Tank Ninja says, throws me off every time seeing Bernard in the 8. Yeah, I am absolutely right there. Joe says, actually, it's Sean Dolak. That's an inside joke to the last time I was on Joe's show. Joe, please kindly see yourself out. Thank you so much. That's funny. All right, this next one, as labeled here, Joey Bosa strip sack. We saw this. The NFL released some kind of footage of this happening and the sideline reaction after. Bosa was very much well aware that they tried to block him with a tight end and was kind of in disbelief about it after. But we're going to see some good hand usage versus a rookie tight end. This is Jets rookie tight end Mason Taylor out of LSU. This is 4th quarter, 14 minutes, 42 seconds. Wide alignment, again, dictated a little bit by the offensive line plus the tight end here. The Jets are going to slide this offensive line to the right, which is going to put Mason Taylor one-on-one with Joey Bosa. This should be a mismatch, and it is. This is what we're going to see. This is what you should get from any edge rusher that is worth their salt when facing a tight end in pass pro. Yes, there are exceptions to this rule. There are several very good blocking tight ends in this league as terms of run blockers and pass protectors, and not every edge will win. But for the most part, any edge rusher worth their salt when facing a tight end in pass pro should eat them. That is what should happen. But I really want to highlight the hand usage from Bosa here. Clip's going to start right now. The Jets trying to quick snap it a little bit. As you can see, the Bills are not ready, including Bosa. They're kind of just hanging out here, not ready. Myers snaps it. They're a bit caught off guard. Watch just how simple and clean and precise the hand usage is from Joey Bosa. He attacks. Just real quick, watch the precision and the placement. He sees that outside arm. He knows Taylor's going to try and punch and reach with that. Bosa chops it right down. Look at him get the hand. It's nice when the guys have the gloves that stand out. His hand, that bear paw, is right over that wrist. Chops it down. And then watch the quick transition. It's not only the hand usage to chop down the outside arm. It is the transition in the move. He chops right at the wrist and then immediately starts to turn so he can flatten and get to the QB. I'm going to explain what flattening is in a minute in case those who don't know. Bang, we're going to chop the wrist. Now let's start. We're going to pull that through. We're turn our shoulders and get through. Now I'm going to freeze it right here. So when I talk about flattening, for those who don't know, literally like going, I mean, I can never draw straight lines, but you want to flatten and get flat to the quarterback. That one is a field angle. But long story short, you don't want to get pushed upfield. You don't want to get pushed this way. You don't want to kind of get run around the arc. When you beat someone outside, you want to get through that outside shoulder and clear them and essentially get like this and get right down the line to the QB. You want to flatten. So Bosa here has won through the outside and he flattens immediately, gets his footing, and his angle, he's bearing down on field so well. Doesn't get too far upfield or into the tight end. He beats him, he flattens, and because he understands angles, he's even able to get like an upfield step when Justin Fields steps up slightly in the pocket. So watch where Fields is. He steps up a little bit. Look at they're even footing. Fields is stepping up. Watch Bosa's next step with his right foot. It's an upfield step to get in there, and then he brings the arm. I wish I had the other angle here, but you get that inside arm from Bosa. Look where it is. It's coming right across the hands, right across the ball of Fields. This was not an accidental strip sack. This is him putting that forearm, putting that fist, arm, whatever he can get, right through the hands, right on the hands, the wrists, the ball, doing what he can to not only make the sack and bring the QB down, but get on the ball. And as soon as he makes contact, bang, that ball is out and loose, and he crushes him. So watch it in real time a little bit here. Chop the wrist, flatten. Again, you get a real sense in, kind of this, the real time instead of the slow-mo. Watch the wrist chop and how he immediately transitions into flattening around the corner. Doesn't get run upfield. He doesn't get too much into the shoulder or the chest of Taylor. Bang. Beats that hand, turns the corner, flattens, barrels down. There are so many pieces that I like about this. Again, one more time. Bang, wrist, turn, flatten. Don't get pushed too far upfield. Don't let yourself get impeded. He's able to power through. The angle to the QB is a nice flatten. And then look at, he's watching him. He sees him. He's got him in his sights. It's awesome to get the sack. It's even better to get the ball. Look at, there's that right arm. He's poised. He's locked and loaded. Puts that arm. Look at him. Awesome freeze frame. You kind of see. There's his arm right there. He is reaching for that ball and extends it right through. Bang. Ball's out. Great play from Bosa. As Lauren says, yeah, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That's essentially what you got for flatten. You don't want to kind of take that roundabout way. You don't want to go around too much. You don't want to have to stop, start, anything like that. If you can turn and flatten and have that straight line, and then even more so, like kind of pick up speed and turn through the apex as you round that arc and round, whether it's a tackle, tight end, whatever, as you can do that, like, and not lose speed and actually pick up speed and pull yourself through the arc, even better. Really nice and really pretty. Yeah, as John says, Bosa screamed on the sideline something like, I can't believe they put a tight end on me. Yeah, players recognize that, especially when you're a vet and you see, like, this is a tight end. I'm like, I remember watching this in the game, and my thought was, okay, they're going to do the thing where, and it happens a lot now, he'll chip him, and then you'll see, okay, like, the tackle leak out, or the running back will end up coming to help the tight end, and they'll kind of have like a little mini double or like a chip and double type of deal. And instead, they're just like, no, man, go out and block him on an island. And no, it does not work. Boom. And he lands on him too for effect. Really nice. This next play here that we are going to look at is another pressure, this time from the 8-minute, 33-second mark in the fourth quarter. Another wide alignment. If you are keeping track at home, what do we have again? We've got a covered up center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what are we going to get? We're going to get this man protection again from the New York Jets. So another one of these cover up the center, 5 down looks, creating that 5-0 man protection. Looking to create one-on-ones. What you're going to end up going to get on this one is you're going to get a 3-man rush, and then Dorian Williams is going to spy. So it's kind of like the odd mirror package that they use where you get 3 rushers. someone's just trying to get the QB off the spot, and then that spy is like a really low hole player close to the line of scrimmage, functioning as an aggressive spy. And as soon as the QB gets off his spot and declares one way or the other where he's going, that aggressive spy will close down on him initially. It just doesn't get to this point because Bosa wins so well. But again, I want you to watch Bosa's rush path on this one as I continue to talk about the power rush piece is very nice, but his best attributes, aside from the power game, which is again tied to a lot of what he does, it's his rush paths, his understanding of tackle sets, and quarterback drops. So essentially his rush paths and angles, he understands them very well. And then he's able to win within them with hand usage, precision, strength, power. It just a nice package for what he brings and very much in line with what the Bills like. So I want you to watch him as he goes forward here. On his first step, he's going to go right at 74. So that's Olu Fashanu. He's going to go right at his chest. This throws him off a little bit. This throws Fashanu off a little bit. You're going to watch him try to stop himself, but he can't. His footwork gets all jacked up, and then Bosa is eventually going to beat him inside. So let's watch Bosa. Ready? 3-point stance. Here we go. So gets off the snap. Now watch this foot. So that's his first step, right? He's in his stance. The right foot, outside foot comes forward. Watch him change his rush path, and it's bang. It's right at the chest of Fashanu, and he times it. So he's stepping with this foot, and he's beelining right for the chest of Fashanu. Fashanu is still in his set. He's trying to take a 45-degree set. He's trying to kind of meet Bosa outside. So he's kind of jumping there. You see, he's like, okay, cool, we're going outside. And this is what I say where he gets surprised. Bosa is now beelining in his chest, and he's like, uh-oh. So Fashanu tries to stop himself and catch himself, but he's got too much weight on that outside foot. And you can see, look what happened to his inside foot. He tries to plant. He can't. His inside foot essentially steps on his outside foot. Braylon Allen's on the way here, but, I kind of accidentally drew a 6. His outside foot gets stepped on by his inside foot here. He's completely compromised. The inside opens up. Bosa just cuts right through. We're going to play it in real time a little bit, but you can see as Bosa kind of cuts, like look at the feet here. He's still trying to recover. His feet are all out of whack. His hands are out of whack because his feet are out of whack. His body positioning is thrown off. His timing is thrown off. Bosa cuts inside, swims over, barrels down on Tyrod Taylor. Groot jumps up, knocks the pass down. Watching in real time a little bit. You can see it in that real-time function, right? Watch Fashanu. You can see how awkward Fashanu's set is, right? He's stepping in. Oh, you almost see him kind of like literally kind of trip over himself, which he almost does because he almost steps on his left foot with his right foot. He's trying to gather himself because Bosa changes that rush path. It's right at his chest. Outside step, bang. You've been taking some outside rushes. You've been trying to work through that outside shoulder. Now all of a sudden you're attacking that guy right at the chest. You're seeing red and you're trying to play through him. It throws Fashanu for a loop a little bit. He tries to recover, and then Bosa here just hits him with like a little quick hezzy, sees how much space he has, attacks the inside. Now, again, this is talking about the coverage piece. This is where that odd mirror piece comes in. You're just trying to get somebody to dart inside and get the QB off their spot. Like Dorian is playing it right here, kind of thinking, okay, Tyrod's going to try and go this way, and he's going to be the aggressive spy to go there. But if Tyrod were to escape, Dorian's that aggressive spy, low hole player. He's just watching here, ready to kind of close down anywhere Tyrod goes. But we don't get to that point because Bosa beats Fashanu so clean. Tyrod has to get the ball down or ball out, and it gets batted down by Groot. Also, a really nice on this. Actually, no, this the thought I was going to make was for a different play later. One more time. Watch this in real time. Just attack that chest, throw off the timing. Again, everything is angles and timing. Football essentially comes down to angles. We talked about it last week with the run defense piece. Football is very often arithmetic and geometry. It is simple math. It is addition and subtraction, numbers in the box versus, from an offensive and defense perspective, we have 8, they have 7. We have 7, they have 7. That means there's 8 gaps to cover. We're short a gap or we're short a man. How do we cancel that? How do we steal that? How do we change the math? How do we equalize it? How do we have an advantage? And then also within that is geometry. It's angles, it's space, it's spatial awareness, it's relativity within space. So much of the game is leverage, angles, and numbers. Rich Rodriguez, former West Virginia head coach famously, did a coaching clinic, and he talked about everything is based on numbers, angles, and grass. By grass, he meant space. So that's what football at the end of the day is. It's numbers, angles, and space. This next play, the Joey Bosa strip on Fields early in the game after the Bills went up 7-0. Nothing really crazy to go through here other than just I have highlighted Bosa's effort and then the chase down and the punch out. This angle does a really good job of showing that punch out. We'll start kind of from the beginning. So what does he do? Kind of right. Extends. You're thinking this might be a run, so you got to honor the run action. You're playing run to pass. Okay, you see that it's not. Let's keep working through. Real nice shout out to AJ Epinesa for coming off, and I'm going to talk about the coverage piece in a minute, but really nice on AJ Epinesa to come off, play this under control, but with urgency. He forces Fields to have to cut this back to his help, and when Fields cuts back, here comes Bosa, and you can see Bosa like already. Here's Bosa. You can see he knows, like he feels kind of what's happening here. We showed it when he beat Mason Taylor and he flattened and got to Fields on that sack. He was putting that arm out. He wanted to get the ball. It wasn't just the sack. He wanted the ball. And here he does it again. He knows Fields doesn't know that he's there. So he's coming. Look at, he's eyeing him. We're going in slow-mo so you can see. Now watch him cock that right arm, brings it back, and bang, tomahawks it right down, punches that ball out immediately. Just a great play from Bosa. Saw it a ton on replay throughout this game and throughout early in the week. But it's the effort too, right? He could have given up on this play, but he doesn't. He plays through. Boom. I love a good punch out, whether it's a peanut punch or just a punch through the hands for a forced incompletion. Oh, that's so well done. One more time, I'll slow-mo it, and then I want to talk about the coverage piece because not too much science here other than this is great effort. Make a play on the ball, right? And he fits in what the Bills want. The Bills are a defense that relies a lot on turnovers. They've been very good at generating them the past several years. Boom. I want to talk about some of the coverage pieces here really quick. And what I like here. First, I want to highlight Cole Bishop and Matt Milano, who, if you see, right when this play starts, they're calling out the tight end. If you see from the sideline angle and the longer copy that I don't have clipped down here, they're calling this tight end out right away, communicating to one another. So maybe they know something, they think something's up, but you get this communication immediately from Bishop and Milano. They check. Nice to see them kind of being on the same page. Now, we'll start with Dorian Williams, what I really like. Watch Dorian Williams right here. So you're going to get the tight end. He's in an offline alignment. Usually when you see that type of offline alignment, you're getting some kind of flow going back this way, whether it's a split zone run. So all the O-line goes down this way. We get a handoff to the running back. The tight end's coming this way to cut this backside edge. Or you're going to get the play action and you're going to get the slide route across the formation. We get the latter on this play. But watch Dorian Williams. This is really encouraging from him. There goes the slide route from Mason Taylor. Watch Dorian. Doesn't get sucked into the run action. Instead, he picks up Taylor on the slide route. This is where this ball is trying to go. You're either trying to get that slide route or you're trying to get this crosser to Garrett Wilson. So let's keep watching over here first. What happens to the slide route? There's nothing there. Look how Dorian, I don't really like this. So he's out in front of him. Taylor cuts behind him. Watch Dorian. Bang. Kind of baseball turns or speed turns a little bit. Gets his eyes and his body right into Taylor's chest. He's right on him. That's no throw. That's not happening. Nice. Now, let's watch the other aspect. So Garrett Wilson is coming across the field on this crosser, right? Let's watch Mr. Terrell Bernard here, who's had a bit of a rough start to the year against Baltimore and even in this game a little bit. Watch Bernard. He steps up. He honors the run. Fields has the ball. You see that he's booting. You see Fields' motion. He's going this way. So normally, routes are going to flow in the direction of the quarterback, hence the slide route here. There's also a far receiver out on the outside being covered by Trey White, but the receiver on the other side, Bernard knows the formation. He knows someone is probably coming back this way. So watch Bernard here. Once he sees Fields boot, he's going to robot. He's going to turn. He's going to look. Bang. Gets his eyes right onto Garrett Wilson after he got his eyes here on 16. So he sees as he turns, okay, there's Eyes on 16. Cool. Trey's got him. I'm good. Let me get my eyes at the crosser and let me get underneath the crosser. Looks back towards Fields. Fields maybe wants to throw that ball, but he can't. Epinesa cuts him off. He cuts back inside. Bang, there's Bosa. One more piece I want to highlight. You saw him briefly. So here comes the cross from Garrett Wilson, right? We get the robot from Bernard at the linebacker spot. Watch. Where is he? There he is. Taylor Rapp. Right. Yeah. So draw a little arrow there. Well, that's a horrible arrow, but not horrible for freehand, I guess. There's Taylor Rapp right there. What we're getting, and I broke this down a little bit in the Cole Bishop film during the preseason. So the Bills are in a single high look, essentially kind of like a cover 3 on the back end, where Rapp is that post safety, and your two outside corners are Trey and Christian Benford. So Trey is on the outside. He's covering 16, who is right here. As you can't see Trey, he's off screen. But Christian Benford is on the other side here. He and Rapp are going to execute a nice search and slice on this play. So Rapp sees that over coming from Garrett Wilson, and this is Rapp driving on this. So here's Rapp. Like Bernard is underneath it here, and Rapp is driving on it. Rapp saw this from the post, drove on it to cut it off and meet it here, and then Christian Benford replaced Taylor Rapp in the post. I know you can't see Benford on this play, but that's what happened on this play. And I wanted to highlight again, like Rapp's angle. This is a nice slice from Rapp. Like he cuts it off. So you've got Bernard underneath. You've got Rapp over the top. You essentially have kind of like a little bracket on Garrett Wilson, although it's not officially like what's happening here. It's just a nice slice from Rapp. So good on Rapp, good on Bernard, good on Dorian, good on Benford, who you can't see, good on Epinesa. And then again, focus of this episode, Joey Bosa, bang. And look how pumped everyone is for this. Really nice. Really nice. This next play, fourth quarter, 14-minute, 47-second mark is a 2nd and 10. 3-man rush from the Bills on this one. Also get a really nice cover 2 coverage spin on the back end, which again, can't see because we're in the end zone angle here, but take my word for it. It's really nice. You essentially get Bishop is kind of like over here. He's going to spin to a far safety spot over here. You're going to get a drop. Taylor Rapp is in a kind of a single high alignment. He drops into the hook. I think he's in a single high, but it's a nice cover 2 spin on the back end. But nothing crazy here. This is just Bosa, feeling the edge collapsing, disengaging, barreling down on the QB. This doesn't look impressive, but this is him understanding feel. Bang. Collapse, take that angle inside with this 3-man rush. And then again, it's just feel, right? You understand kind of Fields is still in the pocket. You see where you are relative to him. You've knocked the right tackle back with a little bit of a long arm from that outside arm. Let's just disengage. Let's take a good angle and barrel down and bring down Fields. I think this is the one where Fields whacked his head on the turf. So watch Bosa taking that inside angle. He's leaning in almost like he's spiking, but he's using that left arm. That left arm is extended here against Membao. And look at as now. So he's driven Membao a little bit back and displaced him. He eyes Fields. He sees he's still in the pocket, but he knows like there's a soft edge here. It's collapsed. He's good. Let me just push my way through. And you can see that long arm still extend. He's got extension. Membao does not have any grip anywhere. So Bosa is in prime position to just disengage. And then again, an angle right down into Fields, jumps, wraps, turns, boom. Yeah, Fields whacks his head, which is unfortunate for him. Hate seeing that. And I feel like guys whack their head off the turf all the time now. I feel like it happened way more than it used to, or maybe it happened a ton, but people just didn't care about it because concussions didn't matter. Again, just understanding angles. Collapse, long arm, separate. Boom. Nice. This last one that we're going to look at again. Oh, we've already looked at this play. This was that play number 6 that tied into play number 1. That this one happened, and then play number 1 happened immediately after this. We'll watch this one more time just because I like this one. He gets Membao to expose his chest. Boom. Prime open angle. And then we get the nice Bernard rush there. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Forgot how to click buttons. Apologies to everyone there. So yeah, that's Joey Bosa tape. Put a really nice complete game together. I was really interested to see what the Bills' edges would do against the Jets tackles. Because again, I think the Steelers have two good ones with Watt and Highsmith. And Watt and Highsmith got theirs. They got some pressures. They made some plays against the run. But Membao held his own. Fashanu held his own. And I also think what's nice to see in this, and that we showed here, Bosa's effectiveness off of both edges. It's not just like, well, he's got to rush off the right or he's got to rush off the left. You could put him on the left. You could put him on the right. He can go through somebody. He can use his hands. He can change up his rush path and his angles. Just a really nice game that I think showcased what he still is when healthy. And it's a guy who, yes, he's got some good, traits and he's got some good skill set pieces, right? The size, the power, the ability that he just has in that frame and how well put together he is for, an NFL edge rusher. But it's also the understanding, again, of rush path and angles. If you notice him so much, he's got this weird, and Eric and I talked about in the film in the offseason, he's got this like herky-jerky kind of like way that he approaches tackles. Like it's like a plotting type of approach, but it's all to throw off the timing, the punch timing with the footwork of offensive tackles. He gets tackles to throw their hands or change their angles. He's trying to manipulate their sets. He's trying to manipulate their timing. And then when they do, he's got the physical pop and punch and power to take advantage of it. Because it's one thing to set somebody up for something and kind of beat them mentally or Jedi mind trick them a little bit. But then do you have the physical tools to kind of make them pay and take advantage of the mental work that you did? And he does. At this point, it is very much just a matter of health. I know that's not a novel concept. And I know that's why a lot of people were hesitant. I talked about, we were live here on the show. It was me and Kendall, which is ironic because Kendall and I were live when the Von Miller signing happened. I was really excited about the Bosa signing, but a lot of people were down. Like, he's never healthy. This sucks. Should have kept Von or should have got someone else. And I understood that, but I when healthy, he's still like a top 15 to 12 edge rusher in this league. That Joey Bosa is still in there. And even though he's a bit older, he's still kind of fresh because he hasn't played a ton because of injuries. And the injuries that he's had haven't been, career altering like some other guys have. Major no jinx, fingers crossed on everything I just said. And now we get another game against the Dolphins, who look real shoddy on offense. Again, no jinx, fingers crossed. We'll see what he's able to continue to put together. But I'm going to continue to echo what I said in the first half of this episode and said throughout the offseason. I think Joey Bosa is this team's best chance at having a true edge one off the outside. It's just a matter of health. If he's healthy, this is a huge win. And it's just a matter of how healthy he can be in terms of like actually being able to play games, but also what capacity is he able to play? Is he a guy who, he's suiting up today and he's playing, but you can tell like, oh, he's laboring and he doesn't look good. And that's what you saw last year. Like in the tape last year, even when he came back, you could tell he was a dude with some back and some groin issues. Like you could tell that when he moved, he looked like he was in pain. You could tell he was trying to gut through it and grit his way through. And for anybody, like, you have groin and back issues. That's why, I saw some people kind of saying things like, oh, his performance against the Jets was like, oh, I didn't see this kind of guy on the tape the past couple of years. And like, yes, you did. When he was healthy, you saw it, but you didn't see it all the time because he was hurt. And the type of injuries he had wasn't things you could work around. Like if you got a hurt back and a hurt groin, or you got bad hips or a bad hammy, like there's only so much you can do. It's not like, oh yeah, I broke my hand, I can put a cast on it. I mean, that still hurts you as well. But, he's been hindered, and now we'll see if it happens. Are we sitting here 7 weeks from now and he's been out for 3 games? Or are we sitting here 10 weeks from now and he's, playing with a nagging hammy or a nagging back injury, or he strained his calf again, or he hurt his shin or something like that? Like, and it's like, oh, he's not able to close the gap. He's not able to just play through contact. He's not able to change angles and paths and be able to put the mental plan with the physical. We'll see. But, very encouraging performance from him in week 2, and very much kind of the prince that was promised so far. We'll see what that looks like going forward. And like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, I don't think where we are 2 weeks in is a known quantity for anyone, positively or negatively. But hopefully you get an uptick from Greg Rousseau. Hopefully Ed Oliver comes back healthy. And I think that's the big point too, right? If Ed I mean, how Ed played in week 1 was wild. I don't think anybody's going to keep up that kind of pace. But if you can get that kind of Ed Oliver more and this kind of Joey Bosa more, everything else is fine. Like honestly, like everything else is fine. Um, Very exciting, very hopeful, very promising. I want to grab this comment because I saw it, but I was in mid thought. I didn't want to lose my train. Lauren said Bosa did some fields dressing. Well done, Lauren. I don't think you've ever made a comment that hasn't been on point and made me laugh. That's well done. That's well done. That's well done. Oh, this is a good comment here. His approach is like a triple threat. He always looks like he can do multiple things off his approach. I think that's fair. And he does do that. Like he'll win through your outside shoulder, he'll win through your chest, and he can win inside. Like he is like a speed to power kind of bull rush type of dude, but his plotting stance allows him to play off of his plotting rush path, I should say, allows him to play off those angles. Oh, I'm falling apart. We're almost done anyway. But you don't know, like, is he going here? Is he going here? Is he going through my chest? Like, and he approaches it that way to kind of essentially give himself a 3-way go. He plays it that way. And then he knows how he's attacked you. Okay, I've gotten you outside again. Now let me make it look like it's outside and I'm going through your chest. Let me make it look like it's going through your chest and I'm going through inside, and vice versa. And then when you pair that with the strength and the power and the hand precision and technique, very exciting. So yeah, I'm encouraged. I am encouraged. You know what else I'm always encouraged by? The best pizza in Buffalo, New York. If you live in Buffalo and you have not gotten yourself some One Pie Pizza, I'm disappointed in you. It's understandable. I get it. There's a lot of good pizza here. But One Pie Pizza is sincerely the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. I don't say that because they sponsor the show. They sponsor the show because I think they're the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. Sweet sauce pie, cup and char pepperoni, great topping distribution. They'll chop, if you get a bunch of different veggies and different things, they'll chop it up, sprinkle it evenly across the pie. They make their own homemade blue cheese, and it is immaculate. They do a bunch of great salads and some dessert stuff as well. They do a great breakfast pizza, and they also have a catering division called Elevated Catering of Buffalo. So if you got events or parties or anything that you're doing, their catering division is top notch. I've had them do stuff for some family events in the summer the past couple of years, and it's been A1. So get yourself some One Pie Pizza if you live in the Buffalo area. If you don't and you're visiting from out of town somewhere for a Bills game or for work or family, friends, whatever, or something else, stop by, get yourself some One Pie Pizza. The links can be found in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you're listening to the show on. It'll give you the menu, the phone number, directions, online ordering, anything and everything. And they're also really good people making really good food. I use that tagline all the time. That's not from them. That's just from me. The food speaks for itself. And then all the initiatives and the give backs, for the community, partner with Roswell to try and knock out cancer, Toys for Tots, the SPCA, the Alzheimer's Foundation, in addition to a multitude of other stuff. They're really good people making really good food. Go get yourself some One Pie Pizza ASAP. This is always one of the hardest parts of the show because I talk about One Pie Pizza and then I want pizza, and it just can't happen at this point right now. Oh, got a super chat. Thank you for being here, Carl. Thank you for the super chat. Carl says, and I'm not worried about injuries as we have the Dolphins and Saints next, but if Taryn and Cam are out Thursday, does Dorian Strong start at nickel? For me, absolutely no. I would put Jamarcus Ingram in at nickel. Maybe even Hancock, but probably Jamarcus Ingram. If Taryn and Cam are both out, I'm going with Jamarcus Ingram. He started as a nickel. I think he still can operate in that capacity. That's who I'll go with. I also haven't been as hyped on Dorian Strong as some other folks are. I think he played fine in week 1, but I think people were kind of using the numbers to make it seem like he played better than you did. He got beat a couple times mentally and physically. I think he's been fine. He's a fine rookie corner, and I do think he fits the system. But yeah, I would play Jamarcus Ingram at nickel just from the NFL experience that he has there. I would also play Jamarcus Ingram at outside corner over Dorian Strong, so I got outruled there. So maybe that'll happen here too. Okay, and where he said it. I know what encourages Ant the most. Josh Allen and pistol. They ran some pistol. They ran one play of pistol, I think. It's very encouraging. Very encouraging. Jim Jack says Ingram had a great game last year in week 1. Good size. Also had a pick 6 against Miami in week 2. He was there were some injuries on the back end there early in the year with Taryn going down, and Ingram, they weren't comfortable having Dorian on the field in third down, so they would go with dime personnel on third downs, and Jamarcus Ingram would come in and play admirably. I just think he's good against the run. He's got some size. He can play press. He's physical. He's a good tackler, and I think he's better in coverage than he gets credit for. I like Jamarcus Ingram. Yeah, I would start him at nickel if Taryn and Cam are down. But again, I would have started Jamarcus Ingram at outside corner over Dorian Strong. So, guess I'm just in that fan club. I want to go back to this from Adrian, who said, what about TJ Sanders and Deion Walker? How did they do? TJ Sanders had a really nice run defense rep, playing some gap and a half against the right guard, got into him, extended, head in the B gap, shed him, got back into the A, helped make a play on the ball with Terrell Bernard. I think Sanders has been fine, but largely non-existent. I think Deion Walker has been non-existent as well. I think the most concerning thing for Walker is just you're seeing him get blown off the ball in the run, just seeing him get displaced. Some of it is the high pad level and how that connects to his size and frame and how he's built. But you just got guys getting into his hip and his lower back and knocking him sideways and then being able to turn and seal him. Or if it's, zone, being able to wash him down and push him far past where they need to go. And then even being able to get under him a little bit and knock him back. But we haven't seen too many of those because not a lot of teams have run downhill on the Bills. It's really just been more of, him kind of getting displaced horizontally and sealed off and holes and alleys developing. And then on zone runs, washed down. So for me, it's par for the course. It's what I expected come regular season time if he played and was healthy. It was really encouraging to see what he did in the preseason. But when the Bullets are live against like the true ones for teams, I thought we'd see some struggles, and we have. But 2 games in, I think it's par for the course. I didn't expect him or Sanders to set the world on fire early on. But, I thought the Bills did some things to course correct that a little bit with some of their pass rush games. The 5-0, creation looks like we talked about. Some of the run blitzes I thought were very well timed and helped take advantage of their skill sets or mitigate things a little bit. But I think they're really going to need to lean into that because neither Sanders or Walker are the strongest kind of point of attack versus the run kind of guys, especially against double teams. But so for me, it's par for the course. It's nothing to worry about. I expected this given their skill sets and build. So it's a matter of continuing to watch them stack games and reps and see where they go from there. Yeah. Put the banner up that says Toodles, folks, because we're going to say goodbye. Start to wind down. Turnout was really fun tonight. If you have not already, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video. I know it's corny to ask for that, but likes are the lifeblood of these streams. So if you have not already dropped a like on this video and you're watching live now, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video before you leave for the night. If you're watching post live and you're able to, please drop a like on this video. Again, they are the lifeblood of these streams. If you are listening to this show or episode on one of the audio only platforms, that's cool too. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Disguise coverage on whatever audio platform you're listening to this show on. I sincerely appreciate the reviews. They're super helpful for charting purposes, but also just if you have honest feedback, cool, let me know. Same thing here in the YouTube comments. They're great for the engagement, the algorithm, but if you have actual feedback on anything, something you want me to cover, something you don't want me to cover, something you want me to continue to do, a little stop, start, continue type of feedback, whatever you got. I sincerely appreciate all that because I'm always trying to get better in any way, shape, or form. But thank you to everyone for tuning in. Lauren said, I'm really just hoping to get a rallying cry of strong side, weak side with Dorian Strong at some point this season in some practice footage for an embedded episode or something like that. Spot on as always, Lauren. Well done. Now I kind of need this as well. That's very good. Well done. I lost my train of thought. That was good. Yeah. Hope you folks enjoyed this episode. Tell your family and friends and loved ones about this episode, about this show. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it and you hated this episode or you hate me or you hate the Bills or whatever, tell your enemies and try and make them watch this show and ruin their day by doing so. I really hope you guys enjoyed this quick turnaround this week. I completely forgot that the Bills play on Thursday, and it's thrown my podcasting schedule and regular life schedule a bit into flux, which is annoying, but we get some football in a couple days. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. I appreciate all the kind words coming through. Cecil says it needs to be earlier. It's 3:30 a.m. here. Where are you? I'm interested to know if you don't mind sharing. You don't have to say specific, like obviously like city location, but feel free to be like this country or wherever you are. That's very interesting. Cool. I see all the kind words that are coming through. One from you earlier, Cecil, but everybody putting kind words in the comments. I appreciate them. I say it every week. I see them all. I appreciate them all. I feel corny bringing them up when I'm just by myself. But I see them every week, and I'm sincerely appreciative of them and thankful of them. Oh, Cecil's out there in Portugal. Oh, I'm assuming, are you a Ronaldo guy? No judgment. I'm just a huge Messi guy. I'm just assuming because you're saying Portugal. Portugal's also got a really fun team, especially like with Vitinha. I'm a huge soccer dude. I'm assuming you are. That might be an incorrect assumption by me. But yeah, I don't get to talk soccer a lot with people because none of my close circle pays attention to soccer. So anytime I see somebody from a European country or a South American country with a good soccer team, I'm immediately like, oh, good times. All right, folks. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, or the rest of your, I guess, rest of your early morning if it's 3:30 a.m. wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks. I appreciate the hell out of everyone. Thank you for all the engagement with each other, with myself. Thank you very much to No Thanks, Brad S., Jason, and Carl for your super chats. And yeah, I appreciate all the forms of support in every form and fashion that they come in. And I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. I will see you when I see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.